Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Saints 12-10 victory over the Dallas Cowboys. Now I want to start off with my player of the game, and I'm going to have to give that to Saints cornerback Marshon Lattimore. For whatever reason, the last two seasons, Lattimore hasn't really come out the gate all that quickly. He struggled pretty mightily, to be honest. But I thought he was better last week in Seattle, and I thought last night he was excellent. He did a good job blanketing Amari Cooper all night. Cooper only had 5 catches for 48 yards on 8 targets. Coming into the game, he had 16 catches for 238 yards and 4 touchdowns in the Cowboys' first 3 games. So Lattimore did an excellent job on him, and I really feel good for him because people were really starting to kind of jump on his back a little bit about his play, which was completely warranted. But I thought he really earned himself some time last night to kind of free himself from the fans. So go ahead and comment down below who your player of the game was: offense, defense, special teams. And then keeping with the defensive side of the ball, some other guys I thought that really stood out. Vonn Bell. I really had a tough time choosing between Lattimore and Vonn Bell for the game MVP. Bell seemed like he was all over the field last night. He forced the fumble and recovered the fumble on Ezekiel Elliott. I think he had 2 or 3 stops in the backfield on Ezekiel Elliott. And you know, the fun thing about Vonn Bell is that that's a guy he's in his 4th year right now. And I don't want to say we had written him off, because we hadn't. I felt like he had been getting better every season. But I mean, he's on the scene this season. And that's a guy that we as fans have to recognize that when he's up for a payday, which shit, that might be this year. If he keeps up to play like he is right now, that's not gonna be a guy that's gonna sign for change. You know, he's gonna get a big contract. And the Saints have a lot of those types of guys that they're gonna be asking for some pretty big money, and you're gonna have some guys that are kind of left out, you know? So it's gonna be interesting to see how the front office kind of handles that. Who's gonna be the odd man out? Andrews Pete. Other guys that stood out defensively, I had actually written down in my notes the entire interior defensive line. Sheldon Rankins came back and played, I think, 66% of the snaps, which I was shocked at. David Onyemata, of course, came up with the big sack on the last drive of the game that kind of pushed Dallas back a little bit. Malcolm Brown was featured on the telecast several times. The 2 plays that come to mind was one where he split a double team for a stop in the backfield, and then another when he came from across the formation or across the line and got another stop. That one's probably a little more at the line of scrimmage. The run defense, this seems to be I mean, it's a thing. It's a thing at this point. That opening game against the Texans, I mean, that was an outlier. You were down a lot of guys on that defensive line, but when this team has their guys, you're not gonna run on them. I don't care who you are. And that was shown last night by Ezekiel Elliott, who is the NFL's 2-time leading rusher out of his 3 seasons. Had 11 carries for 26 yards in the first half, and he finished with 18 carries for 35 yards. How's that, 90 million, Dallas? And I didn't have him in my notes, but while I'm talking about run defense, I have to bring up Demario Davis. He's kind of one of the unspoken guys in the league at linebacker, but I'm glad he's here. And then the last thing I have about the defense was kind of a thing I didn't like to see, and that was more poor officiating, which you can bet you're going to see every week. But in the first half, I don't remember if it was the first quarter or second quarter. I think it was the second quarter. Vonn Bell had a roughing the passer. I don't even know if that's what they actually call that penalty, but when Prescott gave himself up and Vonn Bell was already in the process of trying to down him, you know, and they called the unnecessary roughness on Vonn Bell. And then later in the game, you had the exact same play happen with Dallas, with Teddy Bridgewater trying to give himself up. And I think they initially called it and then actually picked it up, which is complete bullshit. And if I'm going to be honest, the way they called it for Dallas is actually the way I want to see the rule called. This is a big boy sport. You know what you signed up for. You can't ask a grown man to stop themselves mid-action. It's just, it's horse shit. But that's just a minor gripe of mine that I hope the NFL comes to their senses at some point in time and realize how shitty that rule is. And then offensively, I think they did some good things. Obviously, they missed Drew Brees. That goes without saying. But I think Teddy's doing a good job. I feel like he was better against Dallas than he was against Seattle, and I feel like he was better against Seattle than he was against the Rams. And I'm hoping that trend continues and he's better against the Bucks than he was against Dallas. And that's all you can really ask of Teddy. You know, he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's not a NFL all-time passing yards. He's not Drew Brees. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. I think this is kind of what we're in line for when Drew retires, that you have a guy like Teddy Bridgewater who can clearly get the job done, considering the Saints are 0-2 and he hasn't killed the Saints like you see some other quarterbacks doing with turnovers and just untimely sacks, even though he had the sack late in the game, which I will get to. You know, he's not necessarily winning the game for the Saints, but he's not losing it either. And if I had to pick a side, I would say he's helping the Saints more than he's hurting them. Definitely, in my opinion. This is the first time in 2 games that the Saints did not have double-digit penalties called against them. But they were still damn close. They still had 9 penalties for 80 yards. Now, 6 of those penalties did come in the first half, so they did a good job cleaning it up in the second half. But still, that's something that they have to get cleaned up. I said it last week in my Seattle review video, which I'll link below. Harmless shout out. If I was going to talk about something bad with the Saints offense, I thought the offensive line didn't have their best performance. 4 of the 5 linemen had an offensive holding. I thought Teron Armstead possibly had his worst game as a Saint, at least that I can remember. I would say Eric McCoy had his first real poor performance. But he's a rookie. That kind of thing is going to be expected. It's not the last poor performance he's going to have this season, but I would say more times than not, he's going to be a very effective center for us this year. So I'm not worried about either one of those guys. Armstead is just a beast at left tackle, and McCoy is just a really talented rookie that he's going to get this pass game figured out. The wide receivers, I think Michael Thomas showed you why the Saints went ahead and paid him. 9 for 9 again. You know, you see those completion percentages that he has with Drew Brees, and you take Drew off and you bring Teddy in, and for him to go 9 for 9 against that Dallas defense, you know, that's nothing to just kind of glance over. That's big time. And kind of really makes me feel better about it, you know, that Michael Thomas isn't just a product of Drew Brees. Not that I thought he was a product of Drew Brees, just that Michael Thomas is still a hell of a receiver, even without Drew Brees, I guess is a better way of putting it. One of the best things I thought I saw all game, one of the most promising things I saw, was late in the third quarter into the beginning of the fourth quarter. The Saints went on a 9-minute drive. I think it was 15 plays. And they really established the run on that drive, mostly giving it to Alvin Kamara, who had 5 carries for 31 yards on that drive. And then I even have to give it up for Jared Cook. He had 2 catches for 14 yards on that drive, and both of those catches were pretty big because it set up short yardage situations. And I'm not good at math, but I know 31 plus 14 is 45. And they started off at the 20, so, you know, that gets them in the field goal range. He only finished with 3 catches for 21 yards, which is still nowhere near the production I thought, or everyone thought, that you were going to get out of him when he was signed over the offseason. But it's a step in the right direction. I'm a guy that honestly believes, you know, you can't expect a guy to go from here to here, you know, overnight. It takes time. Hopefully he keeps getting the offense down more. Hopefully he keeps getting better communication with the quarterback and his other teammates. And by the end of the season, when it really matters, hopefully he's what we expected. But back to that third quarter drive, I thought it was great that they were able to put the ball on the ground and really move it against a Dallas front. That's something that they really, I thought, didn't do very well the previous games. Established the run. In a big drive like that, 9 minutes, you get your defense off the field, you get them rested. I think that drive went a long way to being able to hold on and win that game. And then the Teddy Bridgewater sack late in the game, you know, you just you can't do that. Hopefully Teddy kind of learns from it. I mean, he's a smart guy. He probably knows that that's something that he can't do. Coach Payton said in the post game that he kind of put that on himself for putting Teddy in that situation. But yeah, it happened. It's over and done with. Hopefully that kind of thing doesn't happen again. And then really the last thing I have is it's pretty awesome to see the Saints win a game without scoring a touchdown. First time in the Sean Payton era, first time since 1998. So to know that they can do that against a team like Dallas, because I do think Dallas is a legitimately good ball club that's going to be there in the postseason, and they're not just going to be a team you can roll over to advance. So 2 weeks without Drew Brees, you're 2-0. I don't think even the biggest homers would have projected that. I mean, I know I didn't. I was honestly worried about them going 0-2 on this stretch. I know I said in a previous video that as long as they can go 3-3 with Drew out, I don't care where the wins come. I don't care where the losses come. I just 3-3, just get there, and I think you're good. And then for them to go through this stretch 2-0 is just spectacular. Words can't describe how good of a position that sets them up in, especially with the way the rest of the NFC South is. Atlanta sucks. Tampa, who we play next week, I mean, that I don't know why anybody's like, oh, I can't believe what they did yesterday. I mean, that's Tampa, you know. They're just as likely to come to the Dome next week and put up 3, you know. Jameis Winston. And then Carolina's kind of, they're playing okay with Kyle Allen, you know. They beat Houston yesterday, but who knows what you're going to get from them. Yeah, I feel good about it. Hopefully we keep rolling. These 2 wins against Seattle and Dallas are kind of for naught if you go out and say lose to Tampa and lose to Arizona. But the team seems focused. They seem behind Teddy. And I mean, they seemed hell-bent on not letting Drew down, to be honest. Hope you guys enjoyed another post-game breakdown. Saints 12-10 victory over Dallas, of course. Let me know if y'all enjoyed this more than the good, bad, and ugly thing I did previously. Please consider hitting that subscribe button for more videos like this. I plan on doing NFL videos. I plan on doing LSU videos. I'm thinking about doing a bit of a bitching session about the college football rankings. And then Pell season's here, so I'm gonna do some Pell videos too. So again, consider giving this video a like, consider subscribing, hit the notification bell so you know when more videos like this come out. Go down in the comments if you have an opinion on anything. If you have any ideas, go ahead and drop it down there, and I try to read and respond to everything. Alright guys, see y'all next time.